My wife slept with my best friend during our estate sale. Then she stole $250, $0 from our joint account. Now she's threatening to claim half of our $1 million property and sue me for emotional damages. Hello everyone. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now let's begin the video. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons, with certain specifics modified to preserve anonymity. I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, writing about how my wife, Lisa, turned out to be the biggest piece of trash I've ever trusted. Honestly, the moment I found out she slept with my best friend during our estate sale, I knew my life was never going to be the same. That day, everything changed in a way I couldn't have predicted, and honestly, I still wake up every morning feeling like I've been punched in the gut. It's like I was living a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Let me start from the beginning. Lisa and I had been together for nearly 10 years. We built a pretty good life. Nice house, decent jobs, enough money to do what we wanted. I thought we had something real. Sure, every relationship has its rough patches, but I never thought she'd be capable of betraying me like this. Not in a million years. The trouble started a few months ago when I noticed her acting weird. She'd stay out late, lie about where she was, and get defensive if I asked questions. I figured she was just stressed at work or maybe having an affair with some guy she met at the gym. I mean, she's always been a bit of a bitch when she's upset, snapping at me, throwing around insults, and I thought maybe she was just taking her frustration out on me. But deep down, I knew something was off. Then everything exploded during the estate sale. We'd been planning it for weeks, selling off some of her jewelry, antique furniture, stuff we never used. It was supposed to be a clean break, get rid of the clutter and maybe make a little cash. I was handling the sale, coordinating with the buyers, making sure everything went smoothly. Lisa was supposed to be helping, but she kept disappearing. I didn't think much of it at first. Maybe she was just busy or talking to friends. But then I caught her. I was in the garage sorting through some boxes when I saw her phone lying on the table. It was unlocked. I normally wouldn't snoop, but something told me to check. I glanced at the screen and my stomach dropped. There were messages, flirty, suggestive messages between her and Jake, my best friend. I saw a picture of her in some sexy lingerie and her talking about how she couldn't wait to see him later. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My mind was racing. How long has this been going on? Were they sleeping together? Did I miss signs? I felt a mix of shock, rage, and heartbreak all at once. My hands trembled as I scrolled through more messages, more pictures. It was worse than I imagined. They'd been sneaking around behind my back for months. And the worst part, she was lying about everything. I confronted her right then and there. I told her I saw her messages, and her face twisted in that bitchy smirk she always wears when she thinks she's in control. She everything at first, said I was crazy, that I was spying, that I was paranoid. She told me I was overreacting, that it was just some stupid flirtation, that she'd never sleep with Jake. But I knew better. I saw the truth in her eyes. She was lying and I wasn't going to buy it. The confrontation was explosive. She yelled, called me insecure, said I was paranoid because I didn't trust her. She threw in some classic lines, "You think I'd cheat on you? You're crazy." But I knew what I saw. I told her I wanted her out of the house, that I couldn't be with someone who lied and cheated like that. Her smirk only got wider as she said, "You're overreacting, it's no big deal. You're just jealous because Jake's better in bed than you ever were." That was the moment I realized I'd been played. All those years of trust, of building a life together, done in by her lies and betrayal. I felt numb, honestly, like I was watching myself from outside my body. How could she do this? How could she sleep with my best friend? And to add insult to injury, she's now threatening to take half of our $1 million property, claiming she's entitled to it because she's been married to me all these years. The emotional fallout hit me like a freight train. I felt humiliated, betrayed, angry, and devastated all at once. I'd always thought Lisa was the woman I'd spend my life with. Turns out, she was just a manipulative, selfish bitch who was only in it for herself. I kept replaying everything, her sneaking around, her lies, her explanations, and I couldn't understand how someone I loved could do this to me. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest every time I thought about it. I was crushed, and I didn't even know where to start picking up the pieces. After I confronted Lisa and she threw her little tantrum, I knew I had to get my head straight. I'd always been the steady one, the guy who handled everything, work, bills, the house, and now I was sitting here, feeling like I'd been hit by a freight train. The worst part was knowing she was probably planning her next move, especially since she kept insisting she hadn't done anything wrong, that I was just overreacting, and that I was jealous because she was more attractive than me. That was her favorite line, throwing around her looks and trying to make me feel small. I decided I needed to see what she was hiding. I started digging into our bank accounts, looking for anything unusual. Sure enough, I found a transfer of $250, $0 from our joint account. It was missing from the statement I checked a few days earlier. I had no idea where it went, but I knew it wasn't just some random expense. Lisa had been acting strange for a while, and now I had proof she'd stolen a huge chunk of our savings. I felt like I'd been punched again. How could she do this? Steal that much money from us? I'd worked hard for every penny and she just took it like it was nothing. And I knew she was planning something, probably trying to hide her tracks or prepare for some big fight. I had to act fast. I called my lawyer and he told me to be careful, that Lisa might try to claim she's entitled to half of the property because of the marriage. That sent a cold shiver down my spine. I'd never thought she'd try to take everything from me. Over the next few days, I started to piece things together. Lisa's behavior was getting even more manipulative. She'd call me crazy or paranoid if I brought up her spending habits or her lying about where she was. She accused me of trust issues, even though I had every reason to be suspicious. She kept insisting she loved me, but her actions said otherwise. I could see her trying to spin her lies, trying to make me doubt myself. She was good at it, too good. Meanwhile, I was feeling more and more like a fool. How did I miss the signs? How did I get played so badly? I'd always believed in honesty and loyalty, and here I was, discovering my wife was sleeping with my best friend and stealing from us. It was a mess I didn't know how to clean up. Every time I looked at her, I saw that bitchy smirk and I felt sick. I started questioning everything, our entire life together, the vows we made, the trust I thought I had. One night I sat alone in the dark, staring at the ceiling, trying to process everything. I realized I couldn't keep going like this. I needed a plan, something that would stop her from taking everything I worked for. I knew I had to be smart, careful, and ruthless if I wanted justice. I wasn't going to let her walk away with our house, our money, and my dignity. No way. I made up my mind then. I was going to fight back, and I was going to make her regret ever crossing me. The next day, I started gathering evidence. I printed out her messages with Jake, saved bank statements, and even hired a private investigator to follow her around. I wanted to know exactly what she was up to. I wasn't going to let her bluff her way out of this. I was going to show her that I wasn't some pushover. I also talked to my lawyer about how to protect the house, how to prevent her from claiming half of it. The lawyer said I had a strong case, especially since I could prove her theft and her affair. That's when I realized I couldn't just sit and wait for her to make her move. I had to be proactive. I started planning my next steps carefully. I knew she'd try to spin her lies, accuse me of abuse or emotional damages, and threaten to sue me for everything I had. But I was prepared. I was angry, yes, but I also knew I had to keep my cool. I couldn't let her see that she'd broken me. I had to fight smarter, not harder. I felt a mixture of rage and resolve. This wasn't just about the money or the house anymore. It was about standing up for myself, about not letting her get away with destroying everything we'd built. I wasn't going to let her manipulate her way out of this. I was done being the naive husband who trusted blindly. From now on, I was going to take control, and I was going to make her pay for what she did. I didn't know how it would end, but I knew I wouldn't let her win. Over the next few days, I felt like I was walking on a razor's edge. Every time I thought about Lisa and what she'd done, sleeping with Jake, stealing our money, threatening to claim half the house, I got angrier. It was like I'd been punched again and again, but I couldn't let myself fall apart. Instead, I channeled that rage into a plan. I wasn't going to let her walk away with everything, especially after what she'd done. I hired a forensic accountant to dig into our accounts more thoroughly. I needed to find out exactly where that $250, $0 went, and if she'd made any other suspicious transactions. The accountant uncovered some strange transfers, large amounts sent to offshore accounts, some disguised as loans to her friends, and a few payments to some shady online casinos. It was clear she'd been planning her escape for a while, probably trying to hide her tracks. That made me even more furious. She was always so bitchy about money, how she deserved the finer things, how I wasn't doing enough. But it turns out she was secretly funneling our savings into her own pockets. Meanwhile, I kept thinking about how to confront her properly. I knew she'd lie, deny everything, and probably try to turn things around on me. She was good at twisting words, making herself look innocent even when she was guilty. So I decided I needed concrete evidence, something that would make her unable to deny her actions. I set up hidden cameras around the house, especially in her favorite spots: her closet, the bedroom, even the garage where I'd seen her phone. I wanted her to slip up, show her true colors on tape. One night I caught her sneaking into our bedroom with her phone. She was texting someone, probably Jake, but I couldn't see the screen clearly. I managed to get a quick shot of her typing, "Can't wait to see you tonight." And then she quickly hid her phone when she noticed me watching. That was all I needed. I had enough to expose her, proof of her affair and her lying about everything. I also started talking to a lawyer I trusted. I told him everything. I wanted to protect the house, stop her from claiming half, and maybe even sue her for the stolen money. He explained that I had a solid case, especially with the evidence I was gathering. He also warned me to be careful. Lisa was manipulative and might try to spin things to her advantage, claiming emotional damages or trying to get full custody of the house by twisting the truth. Meanwhile, Lisa kept up her act, throwing tantrums, accusing me of being paranoid, and claiming I was jealous of her affair. With Jake, she called me crazy, said I was just insecure because she was better looking, and insisted she loved me. But her words sounded hollow now. I could see through her. She was just trying to save herself, to spin her lies to make me doubt myself. She's always been good at lying, bitchy, manipulative, and selfish. One day, I decided I'd had enough of her bullshit. I told her I was done playing her games. I handed her a folder with all the evidence I'd collected: screenshots of her messages, bank statements, the offshore transfer records, and the hidden camera footage. I told her I was going to take her to court, and she could try to spin her lies all she wanted, but I had the proof. Her face went pale and she started screaming, calling me a jealous, paranoid psycho. That's when I saw her true colors. She was scared, and she knew she was cornered. I realized I had to act fast. I filed for a legal separation, kept all the evidence ready, and told her I'd fight her for every penny and every right to the house. I wasn't going to let her manipulate her way out of this. I knew she'd try to threaten me, maybe even accuse me of emotional abuse or other bullshit, but I was prepared. I was sick of her lies, her bitchy attitude, and her betrayal. I wanted to make her pay, make her realize that her actions had consequences. That's when I started to feel a strange sense of clarity. I'd always been the guy who believed in fairness and honesty, but now I saw that sometimes people like Lisa only understand strength. She thought she could cheat, steal, and manipulate her way out of everything. But I was done being naive. I was going to fight for what was rightfully mine, and I wasn't going to let her ruin me. I wasn't going to let her walk away with our house, our money, and my dignity. From now on, I'd be the one calling the shots, and I'd make sure she paid for what she'd done. The legal battle started heating up faster than I expected. I had all my evidence in order: screenshots, bank records, the hidden camera footage, and I handed everything over to my lawyer. Lisa, of course, everything. She insisted she was innocent, that I was just paranoid and jealous, and that I was trying to ruin her reputation. She kept crying, throwing tantrums, and accusing me of emotional abuse, saying I was trying to control her and gaslighting her. Honestly, her acting skills are on another level. She's good at making herself look like the victim, even when she's the one who betrayed me. But I wasn't buying her lies anymore. I knew she was trying to spin her web of bullshit, but I had the proof. I also found out she'd been trying to claim half of our property, our house, worth about $1 million, saying she deserved it because she'd been married to me all these years. The lawyer told me that her claim was weak if I could prove her theft in her ongoing affair. That's when I realized I had the upper hand, but I had to act quickly. I filed for a court hearing to settle the property division, and I made sure to get a restraining order to keep her from selling or transferring anything. Meanwhile, Lisa's attitude was getting worse. She started making threats, saying she'd sue me for emotional damages, claiming I'd been abusive and controlling. She even told me she'd ruin me if I didn't give her what she wanted. I felt like I was dealing with a witch, bitchy, manipulative, and relentless. But I stayed calm. I knew her threats were just that, threats. I had the evidence, I had the law on my side, and I wasn't going to let her destroy everything I'd worked so hard for. One night I caught her trying to sneak out of the house with a bag. When I asked what she was doing, she started crying, saying she was going to leave and never come back. I told her she wasn't going anywhere until we sorted this out legally. She yelled, called me a controlling psycho, and accused me of trying to keep her hostage. But I knew better. I wasn't going to let her run away with our money or the house. I was prepared to fight all the way, even if it meant going to court and exposing her lies in front of a judge. The real turning point came when I discovered she'd been trying to sell some of her jewelry, stuff I never knew she was hiding. Turns out, she'd been planning her escape for months, accumulating cash and assets in secret. I found receipts for online sales, and her bank records showed large withdrawals. It was clear she'd been plotting to leave with as much as she could. I took all that evidence to my lawyer, and he told me it was enough to block her from selling anything else and to freeze her assets if necessary. It was of emotions, anger, betrayal, frustration. I kept asking myself how I didn't see the signs earlier. How could she be so bitchy, so manipulative? How could someone I loved do this to me? I felt humiliated, but I also felt a strange sense of empowerment. I finally realized I was not going to be a victim. I was going to stand my ground, fight for what's mine, and make her pay for her betrayal. I also started talking to a financial advisor to protect what's left of our assets. I wanted to make sure she couldn't drain anything else, and I needed to prepare for the worst-case scenario, her trying to claim half of everything. I learned that I had a solid legal footing, especially with all the evidence I'd gathered. I was determined not to let her manipulate her way out of this. I knew Lisa was cunning, but I was smarter. I was done being naive. This was war, and I was ready for it. I just hoped I'd come out of it with some shred of dignity intact. The court date finally arrived, and I was a nervous wreck. I knew Lisa would pull out all the stops, more lies, more manipulations. She's good at turning the truth upside down, making herself look like the victim, but I had enough evidence to shut her down. My lawyer prepared a solid case, showing her pattern of lies, theft, and betrayal. I felt a strange mix of relief and dread as I sat in that courtroom, waiting for the judge to hear our case. When Lisa took the stand, her bitchy attitude was on full display. She tried to paint herself as the wronged wife, claiming I was abusive and controlling, that she only slept with Jake because I neglected her emotionally. She cried crocodile tears, insisting she loved me, but that I was just too paranoid and insecure. I couldn't believe the audacity. She was lying through her teeth, and I knew it. I sat there watching her manipulate the court, feeling my blood boil. My turn came, and I laid out all the evidence. I showed the messages, the bank statements, the offshore transfer records. I played the hidden camera footage, her sneaking into our bedroom with her phone, texting Jake. The judge listened carefully, and I could see the wheels turning in her mind. I explained how Lisa had stolen $250, $0 from our joint account, how she'd been funneling money into offshore accounts, and how she'd been planning her escape for months. I made it clear that her affair wasn't just a fling, but part of a bigger pattern of deceit. Lisa's face went pale when I presented the evidence. She tried to deny everything, but the judge wasn't buying it. My lawyer pointed out her lies and manipulations, and I could see the court was starting to see through her act. The judge asked her a few questions, and her bitchy smirk was replaced by a look of desperation. She tried to argue that she deserved half of our property because she'd been married to me all these years, but I had the evidence to counter that: her theft, her affair, her lies. In the end, the judge ruled in my favor. She ordered Lisa to return the stolen money, and he awarded me full control of the house. He also issued a restraining order, preventing her from selling or transferring anything related to our assets. Lisa was furious. She yelled, called me every name in the book, and threatened to sue me for emotional damages. But I was numb to her threats. I knew I'd won the battle, but the war wasn't over yet. After the court hearing, I felt a strange sense of relief mixed with exhaustion. I'd fought hard, and I'd come out on top, but I knew Lisa wasn't going to go quietly. She had already shown she was willing to lie, cheat, and steal, so I had to stay vigilant. I contacted a security firm to install cameras around the house, just in case she tried anything else. I also started the process of legally separating from her and filing for divorce. I knew I needed to cut ties and move on, even though part of me still felt the sting of betrayal. Looking back, I realize I learned a lot from this nightmare. Trust is fragile, and even the people you love can turn into monsters when money and betrayal come into play. I should have seen the signs earlier, but I was by her bitchy attitude and her manipulative lies. If I could give anyone advice, it's this: always keep an eye on your finances, trust your instincts, and don't be afraid to fight for yourself. Some people, like Lisa, are only in it for what they can take, and they'll destroy everything in their path if you let them. I'm still healing, but I know I'll come out of this stronger. And next time I'll be smarter. Now, sitting here reflecting on everything, I realize how much I've been through and how it's changed me. Losing trust in someone you thought was your partner, having her betray you with your best friend, stealing from us, then trying to manipulate her way out of the consequences. It's a lot to process. But I'll tell you this: I learned that you can't just trust blindly, and sometimes you have to fight tooth and nail to protect what's yours. The whole experience left me bitter, angry, and deeply hurt, but it also made me stronger. I've become more cautious, more aware of the signs I once ignored. I don't take anything for granted anymore, especially trust. I've also come to see that some people, no matter how bitchy or manipulative they seem, will go to any length to get what they want: money, status, security. If you don't stand up for yourself, they'll walk all over you. I've started rebuilding my life piece by piece. I moved into a new place, cut ties with Lisa completely, and focused on my work and my kids. I've learned to put my emotional well-being first, to listen to my gut, and to never let anyone manipulate me again. I don't regret the pain I went through because it taught me lessons I never would have learned otherwise. To anyone out there who might be going through something similar, trust me, you're not alone. It's painful, humiliating even, but you've got to stand your ground. Gather evidence, stay calm, and don't let them spin lies to make you look bad. The truth always comes out in the end. And honestly, it's better to face the truth than to keep living in a lie. I'm still healing, and I probably always will be to some extent. But I know I'll come out the other side. I know I'll find happiness again, probably a lot smarter about who I trust and what I let into my life. The betrayal of someone you love cuts deep, but it also teaches you to value yourself more. And that's what I've taken from all of this: your own worth, your own strength, and the importance of standing up for what's right, no matter how bitchy or manipulative the other person might be. So yeah, that's my story. It's been a hell of a ride, but I'm still here, stronger than ever. And if you're reading this and going through your own nightmare, just remember, you're not alone. Keep fighting, stay honest with yourself, and never let anyone take advantage of your kindness. Because at the end of the day, your integrity is the only thing that truly matters.